Hello, friends. English Literature Introduction to Drama As You Like It by William Shakespeare. Brief questions with answers. Question 200 to 251. Question 200. How was Wallet repaying Adam's debt? Answer. Adam had saved Orlando and offered him 500 crowns to make a living. In return, Orlando carried him on his back and promised to give food and shelter and stay with him at any cost. Question 201. A fool, I met a fool in the forest, a motley fool. Who says this? In what mood is the speaker now? Answer. Jack says this, he is in a cheerful mood. Question 202. A fool, a motley fool. I met a fool in the forest, a motley fool. Who is the motley fool? Answer. The motley fool refers to Touchstone. Question 203. What opinion does Duke Senior have about Jack on being musical? Answer. Duke Senior remarked that if Jack, whose heart and mind seemed to so strange with discourse, became devoted to music, it would surely throw the stars out of harmony. Question 204. What does a motley fool mean? Answer. A motley fool refers to a fool who wears multicolored clothes. Question 205. What was the motley fool doing when Jack had met him? Answer. When Jack met him, the motley fool was basking in the sunshine and railing on Lady Fortune in sad terms. Question 206. Whom has Jack seen in the forest? Answer. Jack has seen Touchstone in the forest. Question 207. Who is the professional fool? Answer. Touchstone, the professional jester of Duke Frederick's court, is the professional jester, professional fool. Question 208. Why, according to Jack, is Touchstone a worthy fool? Answer. Jack said that Touchstone was wise to understand that women who were beautiful used their beauty to their advantage. According to Jack, Touchstone had packed up knowledge in every corner of his brain through his variety of experiences, and so he was a worthy fool. Question 209. It is my only suit. What is the pun intended on the word suit? Answer. The word suit has two meanings here. One, the motley coat is best suit for Jack, and two, it would fit him while giving him all the freedom of speech. Question 210. What conditions does Jack put on Duke Senior before he accepts the motley coat? Answer. Jack put the condition that he had to be granted all the power to criticize anybody in the society. He could use his sarcasm against anybody just as the wind chooses to blow. Question 211. Who, according to Jack, should laugh the loudest? Why? Answer. According to Jack, the man who is hit hardest by the criticism of the fool should laugh the loudest in order to show that he is not affected by the criticism of the fool. Question 212. What does Jack want to do if he becomes the fool? Answer. Jack says that if he becomes the fool and is given the freedom to criticize anybody in the society, then Jack will remove all the evils from the society, acting as a medicine. Question 213. Why does Duke Senior think that Jack is not an appropriate person to cleanse the world? Answer. Duke Senior thinks that Jack is not an appropriate person to cleanse the world. He has led a sinful life in his youth, and his sins were like sores on the body. He would in fact corrupt the world with his behavior instead of clinching. Question 214. What is Jack's opinion about pride? Answer. According to Jack, pride is like a huge sea which rises like the tide and carries away all the belongings of the proud person, and then he is turned into a beggar. Hence, pride results in poverty. Question 215. How did Orlando enter when Duke Senior and his lords were about to eat their meal? Answer. When Duke Senior and his lords were about to eat their meal, Orlando entered with a drawn sword and forbade the whole party to eat. Question 216. Why did Orlando speak in an unkind and commenting manner to the Duke? Answer. Orlando said that the sharp turns of necessity had deprived him of the usual courtesy. So he had spoken in an unkind and uncommenting manner to the Duke. Question 217. What does Orlando accept from Duke Senior? Answer. Orlando expected some food from Duke Senior. Question 218. Pardon me, I pray you, I thought that all thoughts had been savage here. All things had been savage here. Who is the speaker? Whom is he speaking to? As Orlando is the speaker, he is speaking to Duke Senior in the forest of Arden. Question 219. Which questions did Orlando ask Duke Senior, starting with if? Answer. Orlando asked Duke if he had ever known prosperous day, if he had ever lived within the sound of church bells, if he had ever enjoyed the hospitality of good men, if he had ever shed tears of compassion, or if he had ever known what is to pity or to be pitied. Question 220. What made Orlando ask Duke Senior some questions starting with if? Answer. Orlando asked Duke Senior some questions starting with if in order to get some food which he had promised Adam to bring. Question 221. Why could Orlando not accept the Duke's invitation immediately to have dinner with him? Answer. Orlando could not accept the Duke's invitation to have dinner with him immediately because he would not eat unless he had fed the poor old man Adam, who is dying of hunger. Question 222. What does Jack compare the world and man to? Answer. Jack compares the world to a strange or a theater. I repeat it, please. Jack compares the world to a stage or a theater and the man and woman to actors. Question 223. And all the man and woman merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. What is meant by exits and entrances? The world according to Jack is a stage, and all the man and woman are actors. The actors take their entry on the stage and play their part and then leave. Similarly, man and woman take birth, play their role in the world, and then die. Question 224. What are the 7 stages in a man's life? Answer. Jack says that there are 7 stages in a man's life. They are: number 1, infancy; number 2, childhood; number 3, the lover; number 4, the soldier; number 5, the justice; number 6, old age; and number 7, mental dementia and death. Question 225. What is the first stage in a man's life? Answer. In this stage, he is a baby dependent on others and needs to be constantly attended to. Question 226. What is the second stage in a man's life? Answer. The second stage is that of childhood. It is in this stage that he begins to go to school. He is seen going unwillingly to school at the slow speed of a snail. Question 227. In which stage is the lover? Answer: the third stage in a man's life is that of a lover. Question 228. How does a lover behave? Answer: he behaves deep sigh like a furnace and writes sad ballads in praise of his beloved. Question 229. Who keeps a beard like a leopard's whiskers? Answer: the soldiers keep a beard. The soldier keeps a beard like leopard's whiskers. Question 230. How is the belly of the justice? Answer: the justice has an impressive round belly with good chicken meat. Question 231. Who keeps a beard of formal cotton wool? Answer: the justice keeps a beard of formal cut in order to produce an impression of dignity. Question 232. In which stage of a man's life does he wear lean and slippered pantaloon? Answer: in the sixth stage of a man's life, which is old age, he wears lean and slippered pantaloon. Question 233. Describe the sixth stage of a man's life. Answer: it is the old age when a man becomes thin and his trousers don't fit him properly. He wears spectacles which come down on his nose and hangs his bag beside him. Question 234. Why is the last stage of a man's life called a second childhood? Answer: the last stage of a man's life is called the second childhood because a very aged man is as helpless as a child and he behaves as foolishly as a child does. Question 235. If that you were the good Sir Rowland's son, where is the speaker? Who is the speaker referred to by William Good, Sir Rowland's son? And so the speaker is Duke Senior. He is referring to Orlando by Good, Sir Rowland's son. Question 236. Who is Sir Rowland? Answer: Sir Rowland de Boys is the father of Oliver, Orlando, and Jacques. He was a good friend of Duke Senior. Question 237. What does Duke Senior say about Orlando's father? Answer: Duke Senior said that he loved Sir Orlando de Boys, Orlando's father. Question 238. Explain the lines, and as mine eye doth his effigies witness mostly truly lint and living in your face. Answer: the given lines mean that Duke Senior was able to see the image of Sir Rowland alive and etched on the face of Orlando, the youngest son of Rowland de Boys. Question 239. What does the theme of Amin's song Blow, Blow, Thou Winter Wind? Answer: in this song, Amin compares the cold, harsh wind to the ungrateful people of the world. The cold winter wind was not as cruel as the hypocrisy of those people. Question 240. What problem has Orlando caused for his brother? Answer: as Orlando is missing, Duke Frederick becomes furious with Oliver and orders him to produce Orlando before him within a year. If he fails to do so, he will be outlawed from the Duke's dominion. Question 241. What does Duke Frederick tell Oliver to do, or what orders does the Duke give Oliver? Answer: Duke Frederick ordered Oliver to find out Orlando anyhow. He had to find his brother and bring him either dead or alive within a year. If he failed to do so, then he would be outlawed from the Duke's dominion. Question 242. Why is Duke Frederick furious with Oliver? Answer: Duke Frederick had summoned Oliver to know the whereabouts of Orlando. Oliver told him that he did not love his brother, so that he had no information about his whereabouts. The Duke thought that Oliver was lying to him and became furious with him. Question 243. What does Duke Frederick siege? Answer. Duke Frederick orders his officers to siege Oliver's house and lands. Question 244. Does Oliver deserve the treatment meted out to him by Duke Frederick? Why? Yes, Oliver deserved the treatment meted out to him by Duke Frederick. He had deprived his brother Orlando of his property and was then on the verge of losing all himself at the orders of the Duke. Question 245. Why, according to Touchstone, is Corin tempt? Answer. According to Touchstone, Corin never learned good manners as he was never at the court, so he is tempt. Question 246. What is Corin's reaction when Touchstone says that he is tempt? Answer. Corin does not agree to Touchstone's explanation. He says that the good manners of the court may appear as stupid in the forest because ceremonious manners are not suitable in the forest. Question 247. What did Orlando plan to express his love for Rosalind? Answer. Orlando planned to hang love poems on every bark of every tree and praise a beautiful omen to express his love for Rosalind. Question 248. How did Corin help Rosalind and Celia in the forest? Answer. Corin helped Rosalind and Celia by arranging food and shelter for them in the forest of Arden. Question 249. Why does Touchstone say that Corin is a natural philosopher? Answer. Corin says that a man who lacks money, means of livelihood, and happiness lacks three good friends. He further says that the nature of rain is to wet, fire is to burn, and good pasture makes sheep fat, and darkness comes after the setting of the sun. So Touchstone felt that Corin is a natural philosopher. Question 250. What is a natural philosopher? Answer. A philosopher who argues on the basis of his observation of nature is called a natural philosopher. Question 251. How, according to Rosalind, could a true lover chill the time? Answer. According to Rosalind, the true lover would sigh every minute and groan every hour, and this would tell him the slow passing of the time as correctly as a clock. Okay, thank you friends for watching my video.